The transport shuttle tore through the violet clouds of Eurofund 6, its hull trembling as it entered the toxic lower atmosphere. The world below was an endless sprawl of black jungle, crimson rivers, and silver fog. No colonist had survived here for more than 3 weeks, until the Deathworlder girl came. Her name was Lyra Vance, though the soldiers called her the girl from Caris 4. That planet was infamous. Gravity 3 times standard, constant seismic storms, and predators with metallic bones. The people of Caris were born into violence and evolved to endure it. When they spoke, the galaxy listened. When they stayed silent, the galaxy held its breath. The shuttle pilot, a grizzled man named Renz, stole glances at her as he prepared for landing. She sat motionless in the restraint chair, her eyes the color of old steel, her breathing steady despite the turbulence. "You ever been off-world before, Miss Vance?" he asked, trying to ease the silence. Lyra didn't respond. Her gaze stayed fixed on the planet growing beneath them. Renz smirked nervously. "They say Deathworlders don't talk much. Guess that's true." Lyra's voice, when it came, was calm and low. "Talking doesn't help when something's trying to eat you." Moments later, the shuttle's landing struts groaned as they touched the surface, a marshland of black moss and twitching vines. The research outpost lay ahead, a cluster of metallic domes surrounded by motion sensors. Beyond that, the jungle moved like a living tide. The soldiers who greeted her were already on edge. Their commander, Captain Hale, gave her a brief nod. "We lost contact with our biologists 2 nights ago. Something got in, killed 4 men, and vanished into the fog. Command sent you because you're, immune to fear?" Lyra said nothing. She simply adjusted the strap on her pulse rifle and looked toward the treeline, to the predator's domain. By nightfall, the air had turned thick with spores that shimmered in their helmet lights. The soundscape was a nightmare. Distant screeches, the rustling of foliage, and the wet slap of unseen limbs moving through the swamp. Hale led the patrol. Lyra followed behind, scanning the shadows. "Thermals are useless," Hale muttered. "Everything here's warm-blooded, even the damn plants." "Then don't rely on them," Lyra said quietly. "Rely on your ears." He frowned. "And what do we listen for?" "The silence." They stopped. For a moment, even the buzzing of insects faded. Then something shifted, a ripple in the fog, a displacement of air. Hale barely had time to raise his rifle before something massive crashed through the undergrowth and ripped one of his men off the ground. The scream was cut short by the sound of bones snapping. "Contact!" Hale shouted. Pulse fire lanced through the mist, searing holes in the darkness. The thing that moved there was only partially visible, chitinous armor glinting, tendrils coiling like smoke. It was fast. Too fast. 2 more soldiers fell before it vanished again, leaving behind the reek of ammonia and blood. Lyra crouched, eyes half closed, listening. Her pupils dilated like an animal's. She could sense the creature circling, testing them, learning their rhythms. "It's watching us," she whispered. "It's not hunting for food. It's hunting for challenge." Hale glanced at her. Challenge. Predators on Caris did the same. They'd stalk you for hours, wait until your heart rate spiked, then strike. The more fear you gave off, the more excited they became. "And what happens if you don't show fear?" Lyra looked into the darkness. "Then they get confused." 3. The 13 seconds of silence. By dawn, only Lyra and Hale were still alive. They'd barricaded themselves in a collapsed communications tower. Hale's arm was broken, his pulse rifle out of charge. "This mission's over," he rasped. "We call for evac and burn this hellhole from orbit." Lyra shook her head. "Evac won't come. The signal's jammed. It wants us to stay. Hale stared at her. You talk like you understand it. I do, she said softly. I grew up with creatures like this. They don't kill for survival. They kill to measure strength. It's not evil. It's instinct. Something slammed into the side of the tower, shaking the structure. Hale raised his sidearm. Then what's the plan, Deathworlder? Lyra removed her helmet, letting the toxic air sting her lungs. We stop being prey. Before Hale could stop her, she slipped through a gap in the wall and vanished into the fog. The creature emerged minutes later, towering insectoid, with limbs that ended in serrated talons. Its carapace was pitted with scorch marks from earlier gunfire. It moved with disturbing grace, its head swiveling as if tasting the air. Lyra stood 20 meters away, unarmed, her bare skin slick with humidity. She took a slow breath and went completely still. The creature tilted its head, puzzled. It expected panic, running, noise. Instead, there was nothing. For 13 full seconds, Lyra didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe audibly. Her heart rate dropped to near hibernation levels. On Kari's 4, that kind of stillness was a survival trick, the only way to make a predator doubt its instincts. The beast crept closer, uncertain. Its claws clicked on the stones. At second 13, Lyra's eyes snapped open. In a blur of motion, she lunged forward, twisting beneath its swing. Her hands caught its mandible, using the creature's own momentum. There was a crack, a deep, wet sound that echoed through the swamp. The predator's head twisted sharply to one side and went limp. Its body shuddered once, then collapsed into the mud. Hale, watching from the tower, could only stare. Lyra stood over the corpse, chest rising slowly. She looked almost disappointed. For the truth beneath the jungle. They burned the creature's body that night. Its blood hissed in the fire like acid. Hale limped over, a makeshift sling on his arm. Remind me never to piss you off, he said, attempting a smile. Lyra didn't smile back. There will be more. What makes you say that? She pointed to the sky. The fog was glowing faintly now, with patterns that pulsed like living veins. This planet isn't just infested. It's alive. The predators are its immune system. Hale frowned. Immune system. Every creature here is connected, neurologically. The jungle responds to threats. When colonists landed, they became the infection. Hale sank beside her, rubbing his temples. So what, the planet's trying to kill us? Lyra nodded. Yes, but not out of hatred. Out of balance. For a long while, they watched the fire burn. Then, from the edge of the clearing came a low vibration, like the hum of distant thunder. The ground trembled. Dozens of smaller creatures appeared, moving in formation. Their bodies were different from the one Lyra killed. Sleeker, faster, with luminous eyes. They dragged the corpse away without attacking, almost reverently. Lyra whispered, "It's taking the dead one back. The ecosystem reclaims its own." The final decision. 2 days later, the fog lifted enough for the sun, an enormous orange orb to pierce the canopy. The air shimmered with heat and spores. Hale's transmitter finally picked up a faint signal. "Command, this is Hale. Post lost. Request immediate evac." Static answered. Then a voice. "Copy, Captain. Stay put. We're sending a strike cruiser to sterilize the area. 2 hours." Hale exhaled in relief, but Lyra's expression darkened. "They'll burn everything," she said. "The forests, the rivers, the life. All of it. That's the only way to stop another massacre," Hale replied. Lyra looked toward the jungle. The smaller creatures watched from the shadows, silent, almost intelligent. You think this world is evil because it resists us. But maybe it's not the death world, it's us. Hale stood, shaking his head. Save the philosophy for after we're off this rock. She didn't respond. When the cruiser's engines began to roar overhead, Lyra was gone. Hale searched frantically, but all he found were footprints leading into the swamp, and the faint whisper of movement among the trees. He shouted her name until his voice broke, but the jungle swallowed every sound. 13 seconds again. Hours later, deep in the black forest, Lyra crouched beside a pool of bioluminescent water. She could feel the planet's pulse beneath her feet. Slow, steady, immense. She placed her hand on the ground. Vibration answered. Not language, not words, but understanding. The jungle knew her now. Had watched her fight, survive, adapt. It accepted her as part of its rhythm. The sky burned red as the cruiser unleashed orbital fire. Lyra didn't flinch. She knew what would come, the heat wave, the collapse, the cleansing. She took a long, slow breath, and for the second time she went utterly still. 13 seconds passed. In that silence she made her choice. She rose, turned toward the blazing horizon, and vanished into the mist. Her body merging with the living forest as the firestorm descended. 7. Epilogue, the transmission. Months later, an unmanned probe drifted over the scorched remains of Eurofond 6. It detected life readings, faint but persistent, deep beneath the surface. Among the data was a transmission, garbled but recognizable. Human voice calm and clear. This is Lyra Vance. The world endures. I endure with it. Then came 13 seconds of silence. And afterward, a new sound. Not human. Not alien. Something in between. Something that listened back.